Hello again, guys. It's Gregola Productions here, and welcome back to the GPWS. Today, I've got some very exciting news. March 8th, 2023 marks the day that we replaced our first bushing, or rebushed our first clock here. I didn't show this process because, well, I'm so new to it, and there's many ways you can mess stuff up. It's not very hard, but if you don't really know what you're doing, maybe that one, you know, isn't the best to show off to start off with. There's other videos on YouTube showing how to bush stuff, and I'll try and get you guys that PDF that Jim sent me to get me to this point to begin with. So as you can see, there's the new bushings. There's one of them. The other one's in there. They're both sticking out. That doesn't do any harm. It's not, I don't know. It may help any future repairer figure out, hey, this thing has been rebushed once in its life. Yes, it has. With KWM bushings. And I believe I was using the ones out of here and out of here. I think it was these guys, though. So I'm not exactly sure how all the measurements work on here. I know that sounds very stupid coming from me, because I literally installed one of these, but yeah, I'm not sure what the heck. There are 3 different types of bushings in there. I don't know what HBD means, so yeah, stuff like this, I don't really know much about it right now. But anyway, we've got a successful bushing, and as you can see, this wheel is spinning very nice. And it's got a little bit of play in it. Not much. But yeah, those bushings there are a perfect size for this wheel. So that shouldn't have any problems then. So we can continue with the reassembly after many months. Alright, so we're back a while later, and I've realized that I've done something wrong, and I've got to completely take apart the movement again. I screwed up. I have, first of all, I got some extra hardware. Some of this stuff, I've got 2 chime blocks now because, as you guys know, the first one was broken, and I decided, you know what, for what it's going to cost me, I might as well just buy another one off eBay instead of buying replacement rods and a tap to fit the block. So I just bought another block. Yeah, that's the hardware for the spare block. There's also some pendulette hardware in there, and there's also some screws and washers that belong to this. So generally, you don't want to mix stuff up like that. In fact, I might take that pendulette stuff out of there right now. There we go, that's looking better. So, yeah, we got some spare hardware. That's not what you want. That's a wood screw. That's for the case. Those 2 washers, I have no idea where they go. This big thing, this looks like a spacer. Don't know where that goes. I have an idea, though. There's a spare screw. That's all we've got extra. And this clock book here has helped me identify the problems that my Plymouth is having ever since I reassembled it. We've got, well, first of all, the automatic reset mechanism doesn't work because I completely set it up wrong, go figure. And what I mean by that is on the instructions it says, don't wait for the clock to chime or strike. Just set the hands clockwise where you want them and leave it for an hour. And if it chimes or doesn't chime or strike at all, then it's just resetting itself and it'll be fine within the next hour. The instructions on the back say that, and yeah, I set that whole thing up wrong, so it has to completely come back apart. There's weird rack and snail stuff going on here. I don't know what the heck. I don't know. The warning lever in this thing isn't working quite right. I think it's lifting the the strike hammer up too. It's just a disaster. So it does keep accurate time, and the rebush process was successful. But yeah, the chime isn't quite right, so we're gonna go in here and do this. Okay, we've completely hollowed the case out, got all the other parts out of the way, and we're ready to install the quartz movement. Nah, I'm just kidding. And in case you forgot, there's another look at the directions there, so you can see kind of what I have to work with. And I see there's a stamp, 426. No clue what that means. Yeah, okay, so we've got this out of here. We haven't replaced the cord. Honestly, I think it's okay enough. After looking at it, this isn't really that bad. We've got a replacement plug. This is a Leviton we're gonna throw on here, or we had on here. We're gonna use that again, And we're going to pull this apart for the 40th time. Okay, so what was the final straw that broke the camel's back here? What made you want to tear the movement down, Greg? Okay, so if we look at it, and I did a lot of this off camera because that was the way I did it, for better or for worse. Yeah, this is what the electric that is what the electric 124 looks like. And it's funny, if you look at the mechanical ones, these pivots here, they're actually on the front plate for that movement, but there's nothing that goes on them, and I think they might be on the back. Oh wait, no, there'd be nothing on the back plate, but on the front plate, you can see that these little ears here with those pivots are on the mechanical, you know, not electric version of this. And I just think that's fascinating. They totally intended when they I think, well, at least I think so, they intended when they designed this to make an electric version of it, and here is said electric version, and we are having problems with it. This is the very first chiming, striking clock that I've worked on, so yeah, we're just kind of going with it. Here is the, well, that's the snail cam there. There is the, I believe there's the rack. This is like the, oh no, this is the gathering pin, or the gathering pallet. Can't remember the name of this thing right now. Can't remember the name of this. This is just a lever, and there's that little notch, or sorry, that thing there, that pin to push this up and tell the clock it needs to strike the hour. And for some reason it's not doing it. I think our rack might be a little, oh, there it goes. I think our rack might be a bit bent. I don't know why it has a tail on it like that. Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah, I may have to fix that. I'm not entirely sure how I intend on doing that. As you can see, this works good. This isn't the mechanical version though, so we can't just let these two springs down, and this is super unorthodox the way they've done this. So we're gonna take all our chime stuff off, take all this stuff apart, and just completely let both springs run down. And just so you can see closer, this is how this all goes together. And there is our on and off switch for the chime. Pretty decent stuff. There's a washer there that goes on top of this pile of hammers here. You can see it's all just coming apart. There's washers in between every one of those. And yeah, got to be careful not to lose that again. And I think this time I will take these all apart. There's washers in between every single one of these rods here. And I don't know if I'm going to clean this stuff or not. We'll see. And also on the end of this shaft here, there is, or sorry, this shaft here, there's this brass bushing, which needs to go back on there. So this is my suggestion to you all. Literally just take your stuff off the front and let this stuff unwind. That's the best way to let this down, or these two mainsprings down, is because there's no click, there's nowhere to stick a letdown key. You can only wind this up. So literally just letting the train run down is my best guess or suggestion. Well, Greg, aren't the pivots moving so fast they're gonna wear the bushings down? I mean, they move that fast on a regular basis, these things. So, you know, every 15 minutes these things move approximately that speed there. So I'm just taking other stuff off and just letting this run. These two mainsprings only affect the chime and strike, so I can kind of mess with the motor and stuff like that, and this will just be okay on its own. Yeah, and if I didn't show it before, there's these guys which hold the motor in place, and it's screwed in from both sides, which is interesting. But that's how that works. So I'll just put all this stuff. I've got different parts cups happening here. I've got one for the chime rods and all that. This is all my time train stuff. There's all the rack and snail stuff. Everything related to that is going in there. And I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between these two. I see this one's got like a flat edge on it compared to this one, which has this. I don't know really what's going on there. All I know is it's very modular. Alright, this thing has slowed to a crawl now. And what I didn't know before is that these two guys up here, those are actually speed regulators. These wheels are, I don't know, they're affected by this, the magnet on here. And you can adjust these and speed the chime and strike up or slow it down. So I've utilized them in this process. And yeah, it seems to be a highly effective way of letting this thing down. Obviously, don't want to let this thing go too fast for a huge extended period of time, because I think you really will create a lot of wear and that bushing there. And if you are going to do this, make sure you dab some oil on these fiber gears. If you haven't serviced this yet, make sure you just dab some oil on these while you're doing this, because, you know, you don't want these gears getting wrecked at any point during this process here. But we're not cleaning this again. We're just going to kind of correct the mistake from earlier, which is over here. This lever here is on the wrong way. Or sorry, wait, no, I think it's this lever here. It's on the wrong way. It's supposed to be up at the top, not at the bottom. So yeah, I had absolutely no idea what this thing was for. And this pin on this wheel, I couldn't figure that out either. But yeah, that's your auto reset stuff. Crazy. Also, as I was reassembling this before, I noticed that if you tighten this nut all the way down, these wheels here won't be able to move, which is making me think that some kind of spacer is necessary for that spot right there. This is right by the motor. This is where the motor would go. So if I just tighten this down, you can see nothing here wants to move or move freely. But if I loosen it up, suddenly we're all good again. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if that needs a spacer or what. It's one of the mysteries of this thing. And of course, when you get down to it, this thing isn't as evil looking as you'd think. So one of the great mysteries of this movement was how does this thing know what time it is? You know, for the automatic reset, how would this thing even know where the hands are positioned? Well, if we look at this, we can see, okay, this could probably help the clock figure out what hour it is at least. But out of the 4 positions this thing has, or the 4 functions this thing has when it comes to chiming, you know, it does each part of the Westminster chime. It divides it up into fourths. And, well, simply speaking, it divides it up into fourths, but it does play the whole thing the 4th time. I think it has a lot to do with this star cam. I called it a fan blade looking thing earlier, but that's not the right name for it. It's a star cam. Each one of these teeth is a different size, and I think this big one here, that's probably for the hour. So when I'm reassembling this, I'll try and make sure that that big one is facing up or whatever, you know, because then you can see, oh yeah, it is for the hour, because look where there's that squared off notch in this thing. And you can see when it's facing up like that, this is up here. And that means that our minute hand, sorry, I think I just called it the hour hand. Our minute hand goes on here, pointing to 12, if that makes any sense. And, of course, if it's flipped upside down, well, it's still squared off. Well, that would be the half-hour mark. So I think this thing figures out what time it is. And, yeah, there's a slip clutch on here, so you can adjust this, you know, when you're setting the time. See that? Yeah. Very interesting design, this thing. I really like seeing how this works. It's very, I don't know, a lot of work would have gone into designing this. I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, I've got some updates here. I've started assembling the rack and snail stuff. There's the snail. There's no chime paraphernalia over there. There's this stuff is going on. And I'd just like to talk about this excellent book some more by Stephen C. Conover here. Apparently, the series this is from has been discontinued since 2008. This book I got on Amazon, and as I said, it's absolutely brilliant. All kinds of fantastic diagrams on the 124 movement, and plenty of other stuff is in here. Maybe I'll show some of this more later, but yeah, this is what was screwing me up. I had this lever here on backwards, and you can see where it's all at, you know. And yeah, if you're wondering why I'm even showing this, I'm not making a profit off of this, and also it's been gone since 2008. I don't think anybody cares. Okay, so we've got some updates here. Yes, we've got most of our rack and snail stuff on. I haven't fully assembled the chime side yet. what have we got here cooking? There was a problem happening earlier with this area where you'd screw these nuts down and all these gears would tighten up and completely seize up. We fixed that because there are spacer washers that go there, and these were two mysterious washers. I had no idea where they would go, but after test fitting them on these pillars, you can see that they perfectly fit, so I'm assuming that's where these go. This is where these are supposed to live, and here they are. And as you can see, when these bolts are tightened down like they are now, you know, it runs freely, so that's awesome. There's also dust in here now, since I've been working on this for quite some time. That's not great. I think it'll all be okay, but that is not optimal, and I'm not aiming to recreate that, so I guess I should invest in some better dust protection while movements are just sitting on the table for an extended period of time doing nothing. Yeah, this thing got a bit of dust in it. Shoot. I don't have compressed air, or a can of compressed air hanging around, so I guess we'll just have to leave it as it is. I think it'll be okay, though. Let's stop wasting time and get more of this together, hey? Oh, but before we do that, here, where can I go here? Maybe I can get around the side. Ah, yeah, okay. This cam here, all this stuff, this lever here was on backwards. I had no idea where this went, and it's part of the automatic reset mechanism. So if I just run this, it can catch in there, or wait, no, I think it goes this way. It catches in that. Yeah, I think this is, I don't know, I haven't set this up quite yet, so again, I still don't fully know how this stuff works, or how this thing even knows. I mean, it has to have something to do with the star cam, but I don't know the full extent of how this thing can figure out what, when to strike, and how does it not reset itself every single hour? Like this, the snail cam has that separate, oh, there it is. That separate divot in it. You can see there's like 2 tracks on that thing. There's that one at the back, which this thing rides on. And then there's the main one here, if that makes any sense. I'll show this when it's assembled so you can see this better. But yeah, there's that. This guy here rides on this track here, or this part of the cam, and goes in there. This thing spins around every single hour. So I don't know how it would know when to stop resetting itself. That's basically the moral of that story. Unless somehow it, I don't know. I've noticed these two were, I believe this is the strike notch in the cast. Sorry guys, I'm not using the right names at all. Chiming and striking clocks are still fairly new to me, so I don't know all the terms. But this notch and this reset notch here seem to be identical in the same spots. So I can only assume that this thing would know when to somehow recalibrate itself every hour. It would know where to stop. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try and make sense of that. Yeah, if anyone knows more about this than I do, please comment. I've got no idea. There's also the rack has this weird tail on it, and I don't know what the purpose of said tail is. It's riveted on. And I don't think earlier versions of this clock had that tail on there. Is that some kind of balancing tail? There's a coil spring hooked onto the rack, so it knows to move this way once it's let go. Oh, if it won't, the gathering, okay, it's not doing anything. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can see, you saw a bit of it there. There we go. Okay. Yeah, this thing, I don't know what the purpose of that is. It's anyone's guess. There we go. That's more like it. I don't know what this spring is for, because it just seems to get in the way of other stuff. And I've got it in such a way where it's in here, in this, in between the two, I guess this part of the cam. I've got it in there, and I'm trying to get it around this wheel as well. But the further it moves over here, it starts hitting gear teeth, and may possibly get stuck over there. Yeah, I don't know what, if you got a spring in there and you've got all this, what is the point of this extra piece here? Half tempted to break it off, but it must have some type of purpose. I just have no clue what that is. I'll talk more later about how the automatic reset works in this thing, but as you can see, it's past the quarter or whatever the heck, quarter hour mark. 15 minutes has passed, and this hasn't moved, which means it hasn't chimed, hasn't done anything. The clock is just running. And I think that is because of our automatic reset stuff. I'm thinking it's waiting for the hour to pass, and then it'll lift up and go on its merry way. I'm thinking that's what that's all about. Otherwise, there's also the other option to this. Otherwise, somehow I've messed up and it's not working, but I guess I'll just wait for now. Okay, so this thing, with the help of the book we're not going to talk about right now, I'll talk about it more later. This thing figures out, uh-oh, I'm out of sync, you know, the hand has been, you get the idea. My words are failing me here. And this thing is like, oh no, here, let me just stop the chimes, the chime cycle for an hour, and then wait till it hits the hour again, and then let it go. And then it's reset itself. And then the hour is completely dependent on this snail cam here. So this thing gets to feel this, and there's 12 little, whatever you want to call them on there. So yeah, using this snail cam, this rack moves back and can feel what hour it is. So the chime will just completely stop. It'll just stop everything. And this chime initiates this. So if this isn't working, then this side isn't going to work. And you can see I've divided this into two halves here. This is all chime related, and this is all strike related, if that makes any sense. And if the chime isn't moving, then this isn't going anywhere either. So no jokes, everybody. I think this thing has actually reset itself for the first time in what is probably decades. The feeling of working on something like this and getting it to work and I know this is like, okay, it's not that crazy of a feature, but the mechanical, you know, how it's all done, it's hard to explain. The fact that that hasn't happened in the way it was supposed to for decades, you know, it's always a very rewarding feeling when you get these things going again in any capacity. I mean, this is just one example. This was a little harder than usual.